We're good. We're live.
Okay. Karen, you're good? Yes. Okay. Okay, good evening, everyone. First meeting of 2023. Happy New Year to everyone. Before we get started, I'd like to recognize that the Village of Vanmore would like to open our meeting by recognizing the many Indigenous peoples of our area, including the following First Nations with communities that are located in the region that we now know as Metro Vancouver. That would be the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Coquitlam. Further, we would like to honor the important place in history occupied by the many territorial keepers of these lands and waters around us since time immemorial. Call the meeting to order. Approval of the agenda. Recommendation would read.
That the agenda be approved as circulated.
Could I get someone to move that? Moved. Seconded. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Public input. Public is permitted to provide comments to council on any items shown on this meeting agenda. A 2-minute time limit applies to speakers. I will open it up.
Linda Weinberg. I just had a question about the...
You want to come to the podium, please?
Oh, no, there is a podium. Sorry.
Name and address.
Linda Weinberg,
And microphone?
Burn Drive. Okay, Linda Weinberg, Burn Drive. I just had a question about the code of conduct. I wasn't sure whether this was an appropriate time to ask about it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Just on the principles on page 47, I just had a question about item B. Oh, sorry. Yeah, item B on on the principles, where it says that council members must not encourage, permit, or accept disobedience of any bylaw, policy, or procedure. I just wonder about procedure being involved there. Procedure is not very, very low level kind of behavior. And I mean, I certainly agree with bylaw, and I certainly agree with policy, but I'm not sure if a council member could permit disobedience of a procedure. Seems kind of pushing the limit to me. That was all. Thank you.
Thank you. I'll ask Ms. Eller to speak to that specific point when we get to the bylaw. Any other comments or regarding public input? Okay, we'll move on. We have no delegations. Adoption of the minutes. The minutes of the regular council meeting held on December 6th, 2022. The recommendation would read.
Minutes of the regular council meeting held on December 6th, 2022. Adopted as circulated.
Someone move that? Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? Anything from the other two councilors? Ms. Eller? No? Okay. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Is there any business arising from those minutes? Nope. Okay, we'll now move on to the consent agenda. We have 2 items on the consent agenda. Metro Vancouver nominations for membership on Metro Vancouver's Agriculture Advisory Committee and the Local Government Leadership Academy. So with those 2 things, could I get someone to move the consent agenda? Moved. Seconded. Any comments from the other 2 members? Okay. With that being said, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Consent agenda passes. We're now moving on to legislative reports. So there's 5 individual legislative reports. Mr. Boyd, our Manager of Development Services, is going to go through in detail the first one because they are almost mirrored throughout them all. We will not be going through the same level of detail, but what we've done is we have separated them individually. Previously, we had put them as a grouped them, and it had caused some problems if one person was a little bit slow in performing some of the requirements under their PLR. It held the others up, so that's why we're doing them individually now. So I'll turn the floor over to Mr. Boyd, who's going to discuss. We'll start off with the one which is the 68 elementary zoning amendment, and then the other ones are almost mirrored, but we do have to pass them individually.
Okay, I'm going to have to recuse myself on the first one because it reflects my thought.
Okay.
So how do you want to do that? Do you want to speak to the first one while I'm away, and then call me back for the...
Sure, I'll do 2 then. I'll do the first report in detail and I'll do second in detail.
Okay, so...
Why don't we just let's move on to number 2 and do that first. Just change the order.
Okay.
So we're going to just switch up at that. If Councillor Richardson is fine with that. We're going to go to 9B so that we can all hear the preamble for the whole report and so that we don't have to go into it more on one occasion. Are you fine with that?
Okay, and then we'll vote on them all separately.
We vote them all separately. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so we are now going to, we've just changed the order. We're going to go to 9B and then we'll go to 9A, C, D, E after that. Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, Your Worship. Step back to my office. Thank you, Your Worship. So the purpose of this report is to provide council the opportunity to give first and second rezoning the following. So the background, so in July 2018, the village of Bramble adopted the official community plan amendment to enable infill development, which was then followed by policy RLU16, and the OCP amendment was accompanied by an infill policy document which provided further direction and clarity as to what the village expectations were in regards to infill. As you are aware, we kind of came back the last set of rezonings for infill, and we established a new development zone, INF, and it was understood that future infill zones would go under this zone. So, for this particular bylaw number 66-2023, in regards to 2519 East Road, the property is exactly 1 acre in size, which is 4,047 square meters in parcel size, and it lies within the RS1 zone. The proponent has come forward and wishes to rezone and subdivide their property into 2 parcels, and they obviously do this under the infill policy 61. The policy permits 2 units per acre, and the proposed development would meet that criteria. So just kind of roll through the main highlights of the policy requirements. So one of the main policy requirements is this parcel of land has not been subjected to a CD zoning or any type of subdivision in the past 5 years. It has not. The parcel must be between 0.98 acres to 2.048 acres, and a parcel is exactly 1 acre, so it falls within that parameter. Does the proposed parcel land have an appropriate graded area? The answer is yes. The land proposed will have relatively flat area, so it isn't within a steep zone. 4 is the requirement to extend or expand the municipal infrastructure. The parcel land fronts existing roadways that contain all the required infrastructure, so no additional infrastructure is required. And then 5, does the property have at least 15 meters of frontage on a public highway? The property has 45 meters of frontage on East Road and 45 meters of frontage on Delegate Drive, so that's a total of 90, so it's that requirement also. So in total, the proposed parcel of land meets the requirements as described in infill policy 60. I made a note here regarding the Advisory Planning Commission. This application could be referred to the APC committee. However, this application is consistent with the requirements of the infill policy. So for context, APC was recently reviewed 4 similar infill applications, and they were supportive of the application of the bylaw amendment as presented. If staff's recommendation did not pass this rezoning application to APC. However, it is council's prerogative to decide whether they wish to or not. The zoning amendment, the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, which is attached, there are no modifications recommended to this zone other than amending the maps and Schedule A. In fact, sorry, we're out of context a little bit. The previous bylaw, there's a small minor amendment, which is to do with the calculation, not the zone. I realized voting before today, this number doesn't actually correspond to the table in section, I forget, 9.20, and so I just updated the sample calculation, not the zone at all. So it's just a sample calculation within the zone, which is incorrect. Just wanted to update that now as we move on to the zone. And then financial implications. There's a target community immunity contribution of $150,000, which will be negotiated in good faith with the proponent. That is in general the zone. Go through the bylaw or provide the amendment. So for this particular bylaw, so it's bylaw 666-2023, and it's relating to 2519 East Road. Okay, so, proposed recommendation is that council grant first and second reading to animal zoning amendment bylaw number 666/2023, and that staff be directed to set a date for public hearing for animal zoning bylaw number 666/2023.
Good, thank you, Mr. Boyd. Before I hand this over to council, previously, as Mr. Boyd had commented, we had run this through the APC, the Advisory Planning Commission. The previous, all of the previous, I think it is warranted to be able to do this. We can do this in sort of an expedited fashion, as well as I'd also suggest that we refer it as well to the Parks Committee, because they have been, one of the intent on infill was the 150 CAC target, but there was also a target in regards to the possibility of trail connectivity and network. And it'd be interesting just to get some quick comments from the Parks Department in regards to what they see with any of these applications and the opportunities. So with that being said, we have the recommendation option would be the council grant first, second readings to Anmore zoning amendment bylaw 667-2023 and refer to the APC and Parks Committee, and then that staff be directed to set a date for public hearing for Anmore zoning amendment bylaw number 667-2023. Could I get someone to move that?
I think we're dealing with bylaw 666/2023 at this time, 2519.
Yeah. Oh. Which one am I?
Yeah, the next one.
Oh, sorry, okay. 2033.
666/2023.
That's correct.
Next one.
East Road.
Yep.
Yeah, okay. 666-2023. Sorry, so do you want me to read that again?
No, that's fine with that correction.
Okay, you got it? Okay, so could I get someone to move that? Move, seconded. I'll open up for discussion. Councilor Richardson.
Okay, so I have a few general questions on the film. So the first one is, of the 5 that are coming for today, 4 of them, Elementary, Leggett, Spence, and Dunmore Creek, are on roads that are narrower than 20 meters. How is Amber dealing with the getting extra width, either by right of way or by dedication? Because if I ask, as in, okay, on RS1, you take acreage.
Is that right?
Sorry, excuse me, through the chair.
Yeah.
If the questions could just be directed at
This particular,
the items on
yeah,
the table,
just the particular,
particularly
yeah.
since there is one item that a councillor will be recusing
Yeah,
himself
yeah.
from.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
fair
just
enough.
this one application.
Fair enough. So on this one, it's backed on to Leggett, which is 15.25 meters wide. And RS1, you take the road, take the park, and then the lane or whatever left over. And CD, you work out the 1.8, then take the road, take the park. What do you do with infill?
That's a great question. The technical answer is we would take a right of way on that roadway which you refer. So depending on how they subdivide it, if they subdivided it on, in this particular zone,
So you have in front.
it could chop it in half, so the road frontage on Leggett, or they could chop it north-south maybe. Right, you could, so it depends how they do it, but I think what you're really looking for, the answer is, could be taken as a road right away instead of dedication line.
In that case, why couldn't you take it as dedication? Because it wouldn't affect the M lots.
You're right, you could, so I suppose it's one of those things that we would look at during the subdivision, but ideally, from my perspective, it would probably be more poignant to take it as a road right away than a dedication.
Okay. Specific to that one, the one, no, it's gonna be, oh,
I just not getting I know.
hi guys. With respect to the 150K, you take in after this, it'll be like some $1.6 million. Does that all go to the hub? Where are the CACs going?
side of there we go. There we go, that's easy, we'll just do this. Let's be on camera. Yeah, so I suppose the answer to that is we don't have the answer to where these funds would actually end up at the point in time. That would go through council decision on where it's best used.
Very similar to what we did with the Corvados with their CSE contributions, Bellaterra, all that.
I'm only asking because specifically policy 51 says it's going to the hub. And government policy for the province says you have to have a specific target for CAC, you can't just take slush fund. So I think a lot of people like to know where that is going.
Thank you,
It's
Doug.
all going there. So.
I suppose, it's a council policy, so the policy can be updated into the future once, we go to the hub requirements. But it's a case of the council, you're right, it's a policy that should be updated to reflect on what CAC is going to be spending and stuff.
So today, all this money will go to pay for that.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilor Weber.
I'm kind of agree with Councillor Richardson's comments on the road right away. It seems to make more sense to me to have it as dedicated land rather than a right of way. Just my opinion. And as far as the CAC package, I mean, I was on the infill committee and the hub was the first project, but we knew at the time that moving forward there was going to be lots of projects that, enhancement of trails. There was always going to be something to spend the CAC, but agree, it does have to be dedicated to something, and we do have to consider that for every rezoning of this. So that's my own comment. Good.
Councillor Trowbridge. Councillor Trowbridge.
Did you want to
has a question.
answer to that, or?
Go ahead, and Councillor Trowbridge has a question.
Yeah, I suppose the comment to that is it's always a council direction, and it's a council-led policy as well. So it's, staff would always respond back to council saying, hey, new CAC is coming, and the policy does just say to the hub it needs to be updated,
Right.
and more work should be done in the background with regards to what are the next projects that the village want to go forward with, and that's part of the strategic plan for the council.
I have a few projects that we'll be bringing up later on
Very
of an essential nature. So, Councillor Trowbridge.
Yes, when it comes to road dedication versus right of way, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I definitely prefer the right of way because part of what we're trying to do, I hope as council, is to benefit the residents as much as possible without harming the village, and that's a balance we have to strike. On established roads like Leggett and many others in the community, there may never be a need to use the excess land beside the existing roadway. But if we have a right of way, we can do it at will. If it's dedicated, it changes the arithmetic for individuals trying to develop their land. So I think the right of way is securing all the authority that the village needs for future development. If they want to lay pipe down the side, if there were ever sewer, or whatever you can imagine what it might be, the right of way gives us that power without affecting the resident relative to their development, other than that anything on it.
Good. Thank you.
Add one thing here.
Oh, Councillor Richardson.
Yeah, Ken, I agree with you in principle. I believe that if taking the dedication adversely affects the resident, as in if you had 3 acres, you want to subdivide into 3 1-acre lots, and they took road, and that blocked you from getting 3 lots, then yes, the right of way makes sense. But if you can take the dedication and not affect the subdivision and therefore the value to the resident, I think you should take dedication over right of way.
So there is one difference, just for the public, just kind of get into more technical pieces. The difference between dedication and road right away, in theory, they kind of allow us to do the same thing, allow us to put infrastructure onto that piece of property. However, when it becomes a dedication, it literally becomes the Village of Amherst property and no longer the residence. So when a person comes to develop their property, we look at what's called the FAR, which is the amount of floor area allowed to build in relation to the amount of land that they actually own, so parcel land. So if you take a dedication, you will be reducing that house footprint. So it can adversely affect in some way a resident. But I see Doug's face there, and the answer to that is it's a small amount. There would be a small difference in the floor.
Please, hold on, please. You know, and there is following up with Mr. Boyd said, there is significant as well, because it then sets in motion different setbacks as well, which could have a significant effect on the residents. So I'm certainly with Councillor Trowbridge in regards to a right-of-way. It gives us access to the property if need be. There is a premise that we may never need to it, but at the time, I think that certainly is the way to go.
Can I add something?
Hold on, Mr. Councillor Richardson. Okay.
I certainly wouldn't be in favor of, handicapping any development of somebody's property. I would be in favor of changing the rules to accommodate adjust the setbacks.
Good. Mr. Boyd?
Maybe I'd make a suggestion, because this is a valuable conversation, perhaps something that we haven't thought through in this particular kind of incidents for infill. Maybe we should make a recommendation up to council, obviously. Maybe we can look at updating the policy in relation to how we deal with right-of-ways. To make it clear.
I think that's very warranted. Yep. Yep. Okay, so Ms. Eller, do I need to repeat the motions on there? We've had a motion seconded, and then we just had discussion, so I'm going to call the question in.
Yes.
I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay, now we're going to go on to 9A, and it's the same thing. Councillor Webrick is going to recuse himself at this point, and I'll let you know as soon as. So, Mr. Boyd, we're now on to 9A, and if you could just give us the Coles Notes version of it.
Coles Notes. Okay. So, I'll just go again. Step through. Okay, so this is in relation to 68 Elementary Zoning Amendment, Bylaw 665-2023. Again, this is an infill zone. The one small amendment to this zone is, no, they're exactly the same parcel size, 1 acre again in this property. They meet all the requirements for the policy, and everything else applies. So again, looking to change this from an RS1 zone to the infill zone.
Good. Then,
We'd like you to read the recommendation as...
No, I'm going to read it because I'm going to change it. So the recommendation would read that Council grant first and second readings to Anmore Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 665-2023 and refer to both the APC and the Parks Committee for comments, and that staff be directed to set a date for public hearings for Anmore Zoning Amendment Bylaw number 666-2023. Could I get someone to move that? Moved. Seconded. I'll open it up for comments. We'll see no comments. I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay? And then if you could start with, we're now on to 9C.
We're calling them.
Go for a walk.
Okay, this zoning bylaw amendment will be for 2860 Sunnyside Road, bylaw number 667-2023. Again, the same principle as last time, RS1 zone into an infill zone. This property is eligible. This is actually a slightly larger property. This is 7,124 square meters in size, so it still meets the requirements of the infill policy. Again, I'm looking to move this from RS1 to an infill policy.
Okay, so I will read the recommendation. That Council grant first and second readings to Anmore zoning amendment bylaw number 667-2023 and refer to the APC and Parks Committee for comments, and that staff be directed to set a date for public hearing for Anmore zoning bylaw amendment bylaw number 667-2023. Someone to move that? Moved. Seconded. Any comments? See none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously.
You know, maybe I'll just shout from here. Okay.
We're now on to 3060 Anmore Creek Way.
Okay, this relation is in relation to 3060 Anmore Creek Way, bylaw number, no, they can't hear me. Move. Okay. Bylaw number 668-2023. Again, this is moving the parcel from an RS1 zone into an infill zone. This proposed property is just above 1 acre, 4,490 square meters. And again, it's moving it from RS1 into infill to meet all the requirements of the policy, and recommend it be moved.
Okay, so I will again say that council grant first and second readings to Anmore zoning amendment bylaw number 668-2023 and refer for comments to the APC and Parks Committee, and that staff be directed to set a date for a public hearing for Anmore zoning bylaw amendment bylaw number 668-2023. Can I get someone to move that? Seconded? Open up for comments and questions from council. See none? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay. And finally, we're now on to bylaw number 669-2023. Mr. Boyd.
Okay, so subject property for this is 2192 Sunnyside Road, bylaw number 669-2023. This property again meets all the requirements of the policy. It is exactly 1 acre in size, at 4,047 square meters. It meets all the policy requirements. Just in relation to people who might know this address as Ludlow Lane, it is actually Sunnyside Road.
Is the official address?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so so the recommended option would be that council grant first and second readings to Anmore zoning amendment bylaw 669-2023 and refer to the APC and Parks Committee, and that staff be directed to set a date for a public hearing for Anmore zoning bylaw amendment bylaw number 669-2023. Someone to move that. Moved. Seconded. Any discussion? Comments? See none. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. All right. Okay, good. We got through that. So now we're on to we don't have any unfinished business. New business. 11A, new business code, council code of conduct, report dated January 12, 2023 from Ms. Karen Elrick, Manager of Corporate Services. Mrs. Elrick, and if you could reference that question.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the council code of conduct policy is before council this evening as a new requirement that has been embedded into legislation. Council did enact a code of conduct in April of 2022 in advance of these legislative requirements. But part of the legislative requirements are that within 6 months of a new council term, that a council either review an existing code of conduct, or consider a new code of conduct, at a public meeting, or if they do not wish to consider a code of conduct, make a statement, publicly as to why they do not wish to consider it this time. So the, excuse me, the existing code of conduct, is based on the, code of conduct that was developed by UBCM, Working Group on Responsible Government. So in addition to the code of conduct, they have now rolled out a online educational course for council members, should council also choose to supplement the code of conduct by taking this online course. That's something the council can commit to as well. In terms of the comment made by Ms. Weinberg on the policy piece, or the procedure piece, so that section of the code of conduct says council members must not encourage, permit, or accept disobedience of any bylaw, policy, or procedure of the village in responding to a member of the public, as this undermines public confidence in the village and in the rule of the law. So again, this language is consistent with the model code of conduct that has been developed by this working group, and council can certainly make any changes that they like, but you know, the procedure piece, you know, is included for the reason, you know, the same as the policy or bylaw, just to encourage council not to be encouraging disobedience of these rules. So I do have a recommendation this evening that council affirms the council code of conduct policy number 73, and the council requires each individual member to complete the online education course administered by the working group on responsible conduct, and be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, could I get someone to move that policy, or move, seconded? Seconded. This was put together over quite some time through UBCM, and it's pretty much a standard that most councils are going to be adhering to this, and as it says, it has to be signed off within the first 6 months. So, it's been moved to second. So, Councilor Weber.
Yeah, first of all, I couldn't find the online course. Do you have a link to it? Also, how long is the online course? How involved is it?
Through the chair, I do have a link was provided to each municipality for the online course, so I do have that available should council decide. And I do not know the length of it. I would have to check, but I think it would be something that you could log in and log out of.
Yeah, I would think so. Okay, that's all I need to know.
Any other questions? Councilor Richardson.
Okay, so this is relatively new for me, so I'd like to find, I actually like option 2, which is to review it and then come back, or we can add anything that I would want to change in there. So here's my comments and questions. The same with Ms. Weinberg. I find that part 1B to be interesting in that you can't accept it. So for example, my neighbors were blowing off fireworks on New Year's Eve. Am I obligated to report that? Am I obligated to go over and tell them not to do that? Because that is disobedience of the bylaw.
Through the chair, the policy would state that council members must not encourage the activity, not that they have a duty to report.
Permit or accept. So if I let them do it, I'm accepting it.
Through the chair, I think in the case of somebody setting off fireworks, that would be something that would be a law enforcement issue, and I don't think there would be an expectation that council would be undertaking law enforcement.
Okay. And then on C and D, they're not really comment things, they're more sort of blanket statements. So I think they should be stricken. And then part I, or part 1, down here, page 47, on integrity, second bullet point, and engaging in positive communication. It's a very weird word, positive. Like, I would much prefer to engage in factual communication or honest communication or, you know, something along those lines. Putting that happy face on something to make it positive is a bit strange. I just prefer clear, factual communication.
So through the chair, in terms of items 3 and C, those are actually principles under the policy, so that is why they're framed essentially as a statement, because they are principles of the policy, C and D and 47. And in terms of the integrity, positive communication, I think, would be more referencing just the tone and the type of engagement that council would have.
I understand I'm often accused of not smiling and having pictures. So positivity is not something that shines out of my eyes. So I'm a little bit worried about that. And likewise, in section 4, it also says positively influence. There's something there that's beyond just the factual, and I prefer factual. I'm sorry to be picky, but
Again, should council wish to change any of the verbiage within the policy, that's certainly within their purview. Again, you know, I think the positivity, you know, relates more to tone and language and decorum than it does having a smile on your face.
Good, okay. I think there's some interpretation that can be set out in this quite a bit, but again, I do know that this was several people spent. There was a lot of working groups in regards to putting this together, as well as the college was involved. So, any further questions? Councilor Weber.
Maybe just a comment. I understand the concern about the word.
all things come.
Go ahead. I was, yeah. I'm just passing it on to Paul. Councilor Carter, did you have your hand up?
No, I just stated that we can't hear you.
Oh, okay.
I would share maybe some of the concerns around accept. We're not the police. I don't, you know, if my neighbor's having a campfire, I'm going to assume that he has a permit. I'm not gonna go and police it. And if that's what accept means, I might have an issue with that. As far as positive, accurate, as far as I'm concerned, it's positive. If you're telling the truth and you're factual, it's positive communication. So I don't have an issue with the word positive. I think it's a good thing. I understand the intent. I'm giving the accept a little bit of thought, and I have a little bit of concern around the accept. Everything else I'm pretty good with. And like I said, or like you said, man, this has been vetted by UBCM, and it's pretty universally adopted.
Okay, good. Any comments from Councillor Trowbridge, Councillor Cryer? Councillor Trowbridge. Good. Okay, those comments, I will call the question. All those in favor?
Sorry, Pauline has a question.
Oh, sorry. Pauline, did you have a question?
I completely agree with Mr. Esparana, policeman of the village. I didn't quite hear, Councillor Richardson had a concern about items C and D, I believe. Was that council members must be respectful of others and also demonstrate leadership and collaboration. Was there any concern with that, or did I just want to, I'm trying to remember that correctly?
Yeah, it was further down. 47, and it was, C and D under the principles, and then under heading I, it was number 2, which references engaging in positive communications.
Okay. Got it. It was the C and D that had me confused.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, I'm clear now.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried unanimously. Okay. Move on. We're now on to the mayor's report. I've got a few things I wanted to update people on. First of all, our Chief Administrative Officer's recruitment update. Through the initial recruitment process to hire a new CAO in November/December 2022, after Ms. Halliwell left for Burnaby, Council was unsuccessful in securing a suitable candidate. It was decided at that time that we would restart the process again in 2023. The position description was slightly revised and reposted on January 10th and will remain posted until January 27th. Applications are starting to come in and all applications will be given serious consideration. We hope to be in a position to make a decision in early February with the intent of having a new CAO in place as soon as possible thereafter. The search and selection process has taken a little longer than first expected, but it's important that Council decides on a candidate that represents a good fit for Anmore and someone that can provide the support and leadership to guide Council and staff over the next number of years. Further updates will be provided at the next meeting. I also wanted to update you on the hub update. The hub is coming together quite quickly all of a sudden, and it's because there was a bit of a break at Christmas. Most of the frame is in place. There has been some rerouting of some hydro lines, which Mr. Boyd and I have been working on with BC Hydro, and they've been very cooperative. That framing should be done in the next week, and then the roof will start to go on. We lost about 2 weeks because of this delay with the hydro and rerouting it up, which is going to be the new Montmurray Lane. We're still on track to be moving into the new hub as of August. So, all being well, things are progressing quite well. Public Works and snow removal and equipment. We had quite a dump of snow right before Christmas, and our crews did an amazing job, absolutely amazing job, setting Anmore very, very high on the bar in regards to snow removal. I can tell you, coming and going out of the village, it was the problems created at the end of our border, which was as soon as we went into Port Moody. However, there are some issues that we have at stake. When we get that cold and that sort of snow, we quickly realize that machinery doesn't like to be kept outside. We are going to have to get an enclosed building at some point in time here once we move out of the public workshop. These trucks and the hydraulics from all the mechanics that need to be stored inside in between their duties of snowing. We have actually a total of three snow removing vehicles, and we were down to one on several occasions because of this. Machinery doesn't like the cold, and it's problematic. So we need to get a building there as well. I should let you know that this building may have to double at some point for a fire hall as well, because we are going to have to be replacing the fire hall sometime very soon, and that planning will start in the coming months because WCD has said that it is not an authorized use anymore. Doesn't meet code compliant, nor is it structurally sound in the case of any sort of an emergency. So those are the things, but I just wanted to extend an incredible job well done by our Public Works Department. They had all people on deck and regarding the Bobcat, which was clearing the sidewalks. We had the backhoe out, we had every piece of equipment that we could, and it was handling it quite well. So from the weather thing and talking to Mr. Donaldson, the head of Public Works, it looks like we may be coming into a cold spell in the next week or so. But all the equipment is ready to go right now. But it's just, hope everybody understands that it takes an incredible toll on the equipment sitting outside in that cold weather, as well as being operated at full steam. I did talk to Mayor Laddie from Port Moody, and they had very, very similar instances with their equipment, a lot of it breaking down as well. So that's about it. I'll move you over to the councilor's report. Any councilors? Councilor Richardson?
Yeah, I'm going to echo what John said. The snow removal in Anmore was fantastic. And I actually did a little tour just for fun to see what it was like in other municipalities, you could actually tell when you cross municipal boundaries. It was completely fascinating. So I think it's good.
Councillor Weber, do you have anything? Yeah. Not much to say. I'm going to be starting my position on the Zero Waste Committee in Metro Vancouver on Thursday, so I'm very excited about that. I've been wanting to get on that committee for quite a few years. So I thank Mayor McEwen for any good words he put in for me as the vice chair. And that's all I have.
Any comments, councillor reports? No? Oh, councillor Cryer. Please. We're just fixing it right now. Hold on. Okay, go ahead.
I have one meeting since the year began, and that was with the mental health task force. Nothing to report there, but we did have our first meeting planned for the year, and I also neglected to mention at our year-end meeting big congratulations to Mayor McEwen for being the vice chair of Metro. For those of you who are not are not aware, that's a very big deal to someone in a small municipality taking on that role, and I just personally want to say congratulations, and we are proud of you. All very, very good part-time roles.
Thank you. Okay, I'll move. I'll move on to our acting chief administrator officer's report. Ms. Elder.
Thank you. So, a couple of things to update. We do have a vacancy currently on the finance committee. Sorry, I'll start again. We do currently have a vacancy on the finance committee. The other committees, including the finance committee, will be out for recruitment early spring as the terms do expire at the end of March. But as we are coming into budget time, council wanted to make sure that that committee was at full complement. So we are recruiting one member for the vacancy due to the village. So that is open until January 31st, and anyone interested can either send an email to me or phone call or drop by the village hall. With that, staff is working through getting the budgeting process for the year underway, and anticipate that there will be materials to bring forward to the finance committee at the end of February. So we'll keep the public informed on when that meeting will be set. And finally, we will be sending, some communication out regarding this. But on Friday, there will be some traffic interruptions on Sunnyside and East Road due to some watering construction that will be happening related to the construction work.
Thank you. Okay, we have some general correspondence from the Union of BC Municipalities dated December. Oh.
Councillor Trowbridge has a question.
Oh, Councillor Trowbridge.
No, so currently under our procedure bylaw, we are not permitted to have committee meetings.
Currently under the procedure bylaw, we are not allowed to have committee meetings via Zoom. Yeah.
But Mayor McEwen, you could step in to chair.
But I could step in to chair any of the meetings so that they could proceed. Okay. Okay, so we have general correspondence, communication from the Union of BC BC municipalities dated December 9th regarding community works funds, communications with BCSBA regarding fall and winter magazine and newsletter. I'll now open it up to the public question period. Public is permitted to ask questions of council regarding any item. 2-minute time limit applies to speakers.
Linda Weinberg, Fern Drive. A couple of questions. It's really nice to see the community building fund. I wonder, is there a destination for that money?
The Community Works Fund, the gas tax fund.
Yeah. Lena?
Hi, Lena, I'm the Manager of Financial Services. At budget time, we go through when we will use that gas tax funds. They're used for general projects, so it would be noted as the Community Works Fund's money in the budget.
Okay, but there's no particular destination for it until after that process is
We
done.
keep it as a reserve until the time that budget and council allows for us to use it.
May I ask a second question? Thank you. Thank you. Years ago, we had a community emergency preparedness committee, and I think that committee became a staff committee. I think about 8 years ago. And so far, I don't think we have ever had a public report from that committee. I know that there is a website. There's a fair amount of emergency preparedness information, but it's primarily the information that comes from the province. It's not specific to our area. And I think it's really important, given the conditions that we've seen, particularly in the summer here, that we need to move this community into a state of emergency preparedness. Because in the case of a flash fire, an earthquake, we could lose a lot of people. So I think it's really important that we do this and it not be something that's kind of on the edge of a staff desk, that it be something that's put more forward in terms of the council attention. Thank you.
Ms. Alex can answer that because it certainly isn't on the side of anybody's desk anymore. It's actually plays a significant role in our planning.
Thank you for your question. So in terms of the emergency management, I'm not familiar so much with the background of the committee. So in the last 4 years that I've been with the village, I have been the emergency program coordinator. So I do on quite a regular basis meet with various other agencies and colleagues within the region. I'm part of several committees within the region. And in the past few years, we have done quite a bit of work that's animal related. We've prepared and released an emergency guide that is animal specific. We also have an evacuation plan in place that was just underway and winding up when I joined the village 4 years ago. We also engaged an expert in a company led by Mr. Blackwell, and held a wildfire session during COVID online with the community, and that is available on the website as well. And lastly, last year we did participate with other Tri-City communities on some grant funding opportunities of nearly $500,000 for wildfire preventative measures. So it definitely is something that that staff does continue to look at. There's not a committee per se. We do have quite a small staff complement, but it's more that staff is engaged and working with our partners in other communities and agencies and stakeholders and the province as well.
Mr. Boyd, do you want to answer that?
Yeah, I just add one comment to that. It is at the forefront. We actually have a dedicated room within the new hub as well, dedicated to EOC equipment and response. So it's very much.
Good, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, motion to adjourn. Moved, seconded. All those in favor? Carried unanimously.